Hello everyone, it's Dylan from Yugioh Everything, and welcome back to another Yu-Gi-Oh! VRains episode review. This time we will be reviewing episode 58 of Yu-Gi-Oh! VRains, the conclusion to the very anticipated, very hyped up finale of the Bohman and Playmaker duel. And the reason I think this was so hyped up is because of what happened in 57. It really left us on a cliffhanger, and we had to wait an entire week. An entire extra week, I should say. We always have to wait a week. We had to wait 2 weeks for this episode to air because they took a break on June 27th. So, July 4th, finally the episode airs. It's the first time that I predicted Playmaker was going to lose, and I was very, very, very hard set on that. I was very on the Bowman train in this episode, and that clearly was incorrect. I got this one wrong. And I'm not going to be one of those people that was like, well, you know, even though I said Bowman was going to win, I always thought Playmaker was going to win. I always knew Playmaker was going to win. No. I'm not one of those people. I genuinely believed Bowman was going to win, and I was incorrect, as I am from time to time. I mean, I'm probably more incorrect, honestly, than I am correct. It's just that I do say a lot of things, and then when things actually happen that I say, I'm like, oh yeah, well, but I say a lot of things in these reviews and the episode summaries and the cast list. I say a lot of stuff, so that's why I never pat myself on the back too hard or kind of rip myself too hard. But this theory was, not really a theory, this prediction was wrong. And it's funny because if someone told me that Bowman was going to have that epic scene where lightning strikes from the clouds and strikes him, and he screams he's the emissary of revenge, the same line that Playmaker said to Revolver, and the fact that he even knew that line and said that line with that much ferocity was, I mean, it gave me chills. And if you were to tell me that Bowman was going to use a skill in a master duel, and that skill would be storm access, guess what? I would have slammed 5 $20 bills on the table, and I would have said, $100, Playmaker loses, Bowman wins. I'm convinced if you told me all of that. But yet, even with the shocking storm access move, even with summoning a Hydro Drive monster that had 3 attributes, even with Bowman saying that awesome emissary of revenge line as lightning struck him and the whole setting and background turned dark, even with all of that, Playmaker still pulled it out. So the result, I still felt like this was a perfect time, even more so after seeing Bowman actually use Storm Access. I mean, what the hell was that about? Even more so after seeing that Bowman using the Emissary of Revenge line. A perfect time for Playmaker to lose, but the writers picked the safe route. The writers have, I feel like, been very safe with Yu-Gi-Oh! VRains thus far. They've been very safe. It's not necessarily a bad thing. I gotta tell you, I still like VRains. I gotta tell you, I still liked this episode. I still thought this episode was enjoyable. And the next 2 episodes, the preview, that the Knights of Hanoi are back, that's freaking awesome. I can't wait to see the Knights of Hanoi back, and I'm glad, again, it's all 5 of them, and not just Spectre and Revolver. So excited to see that they're back, and Playmaker knows that they're back because he even says that the Knights are making their move. So what's that move gonna be? A lot to look forward to next episode. But as for this episode, you know, we'll talk about next episode next week. As for this episode, usually I try to do these in a linear fashion, but episodes like this, I'm going to be kind of rambling all over the place. Another thing that was very interesting is when Playmaker asked Bowman who kidnapped him, and Bowman said Dr. Kogami, and right there Playmaker said, well, now I know you're lying. Even though Playmaker, I'm pretty sure, has said on multiple occasions that he doesn't have any memories or any recollection of his memories before the incident. I might be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure that he has said that before. And if anyone could link me to an episode or confirm that for me down below or disconfirm that would be great. But clearly, that's not true, or it's just a bit of a plot hole that's exposed in this episode because Playmaker recollects a time where he runs into a very young Revolver, and this is clearly before the incident. So he does have some memories of the incident. Whether the memories of before the incident are coming back to him, I'm not really sure, even though if that's the case, again, why has he not tried to contact his parents? What happened to his parents? That probably means if he does have his memories from before the incident, which, again, contradicts what he said in the past, that his parents are dead, because if his parents were alive, he definitely would have tried to get in touch with them and go back to them. But he runs into Ryoken, and Ryoken says, yeah, come back to my house and I'll show you my deck. And I guess this is when Playmaker gets kidnapped. When he goes back to Ryoken's house, he gets kidnapped by Kogami or whoever it is. And I feel like people are just kind of overlooking the fact that Ryoken, who is 6 years old or 8 years old or however old he was, I forget if he's 16 or 18 now, literally was the reason that 6 kids got kidnapped and tortured by his father. I mean, I don't know if that weighs on Ryoken's consciousness, and when Ryoken says, in episode 43, quote, I am not a good person, end quote, it's moments like that he probably remembers very well, so I'm sure it's weighing on his conscience that he did something like that. But really, what an awful thing to do. Now, I know when you're 6, 8 years old, again, can't remember his exact age, if he's 16 or 18, he probably wasn't really thinking, and that's why he was eaten away when he realized what his dad actually wanted these duelists for, what his dad actually wanted these kids for. I mean, you saw him crying, and he was the one that eventually got everyone in trouble. So Ryoken, you've got to really think about him from a character perspective, because what he's gone through has been really, really effed up. When he's 6 years old, when he's a young kid, he's used by his dad, and willingly to a degree, I'm sure, to get these 6 kids for an experiment. I'm sure that his dad tells him, a fun experiment. Then the screams of these kids weigh heavily on his heart, as he's already said before. So he calls the police, and the police come and get the kids out of jail, which was a great scene in this episode, a freaking amazing scene, when Bowman was screaming as the apparent clone of Playmaker, saying, let me out, that's the wrong one, and Yusaku looked back at the clone with this evil face. That was freaking awesome. Clearly, that was a fake memory, at least in my opinion. That didn't actually happen. It's not like Yusaku at that age would have been aware that he was the fake program and would have looked back at the screen like that, even though if that is the case, that would be freaking awesome and terrible, and it would make you probably not like Yusaku very much. I mean, well, then again, it would just be such a mind F if it was true, because the character that we've been following really isn't Yusaku, right? It's not really Yusaku. It's the backup version of Yusaku, and our main protagonist then would be Bowman, maybe? Even though this is, I don't know, it would be a very, very interesting twist if it was real, which again, I don't think it was real. Also, the mystery dude at the end was like, okay, Bowman, but now you've learned about Playmaker's fighting spirit, come back here. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure he learned about Playmaker's fighting spirit when he lost to him 10 episodes ago. I don't understand the purpose of this duel if it was going to be another Bowman loss. I mean, Bowman knows about Playmaker's spirit. He's already dueled the guy. It wasn't like it was their first time dueling. So that line to me didn't make much sense. Haru said that, my brother will be back, and that was pretty much the end of the episode. The world starts getting destroyed. Not sure what's going to happen to Windy. That'll be interesting to see where Windy goes after this. Soulburner logs out, Playmaker logs out, and that is pretty much the end of the episode. But to get back to Ryoken, so he, 6 years old, again, gets kids kidnapped by his dad. He realizes how much wrong he's done because of what his dad's actually doing to these kids and the pain he's inflicting on these kids. So he calls the police. The police get the kids out of jail. Then, because he called the police, his dad gets infected by Soul Technologies and gets trapped in the cyber world and eventually dies. I mean, everything that this guy did when he was younger literally had a horrible net result. You want to bring 6 kids back to your dad? They're going to get tortured. You want to call the police on your dad? Well, now he's going to get killed off in 5-10 years. Just a really tragic childhood for Revolver. And so the fact that he was actually complicit and he was involved in these kidnappings makes this whole situation that much more interesting and that much more walking on eggshells. But again, the contradictoriness of Playmaker saying that he didn't remember any of his memories, and now he does remember some of his memories. There was definitely a little bit of kind of plot holes there, but still overall the episode was very, very enjoyable. There were a lot of things that I feel they could have done differently. First of all, having Playmaker lose, I think, would have been great for his character. They could have done a plot where Bowman did take over his body for a little bit. And that's the thing, his body was on the line, and so people were like, oh, the stakes are way too high. Even though the Ignis isn't on the line, Playmaker would lose his body. But Playmaker also had the emergency escape program. So even though the stakes were high, yes, he had a back door. You know, it's not like in the other duels he had some program that he could use where I wouldn't be taken away. In this duel, if he lost, he could quickly use the emergency escape program, and if Bowman is actually trapped in the VR world, he's safe. He gets back to the real world, and he can think about his defeat, and he even says the real one will be the one who wins this duel. I like how him and Ignis don't even really deny it. Him and I both are like, they don't really know what to think of these claims, and I even says that it could actually be true, which makes you as the viewer very uncertain, because it's like, well, if the characters are acknowledging that this might actually be the real Playmaker, then that's actually kind of terrifying. But the one thing that also never came to pass is Bowman never used the name Yusaku. He always called Playmaker Playmaker. And keep in mind, this Playmaker persona was not invented until after the Lost incident. So Bowman should be referring to Playmaker as Yusaku if he actually was Playmaker or Yusaku. But the fact that whoever implanted these memories into Bowman's head, or Bowman just has false memories, which is, you know, could be an effect of both, they don't actually know Playmaker's identity, and because they don't know his identity, they couldn't give his real name to Bowman, and because of that, it puts a huge hole in Bowman's story, where if Bowman actually was this, you know, original Yusaku, he'd remember him as Yusaku, not Playmaker, because again, Playmaker wasn't even created until after, so that's a huge plot hole in his story if you want to look at a fact beyond the fact that this character who put Bowman's memories into him said, here are your new memories. The whole story is a bunch of baloney, but the fact that Playmaker was able, or the fact that Bowman, was able to control the wind and use storm access was very suspect. The fact that he was able to use a skill in a master duel was a crazy plot twist, and if he used that skill at the end, not only would that have caught Playmaker off guard, but then if Bowman had said the Emissary of Revenge line right after he used his skill, that would have shook Playmaker, and then Bowman could have had a big win, and it doesn't even make Playmaker look that weak, because Bowman used Storm Access. He used a skill in a Master Duel, which none of us, including Playmaker, knew was possible, and because of that, that could have given Bowman the upper hand without making Playmaker look like an under-skilled duelist in the eyes of Bowman, or in the likes of Bowman, or in the ring with Bowman. That's the word I'm looking. I don't even know what I'm in the duel arena with Bowman. I guess we'll just go with that, if you guys know what I mean. And then when they had their third rematch, Playmaker could have been more prepared for the Storm Axis, and that's how he could have won. But either way, Playmaker wins. The safe choice. Soulburner showed up at the end. There was a way where maybe Soulburner could have even gotten possessed or captured. That didn't come to fruition. That was some theories that I'd seen some people throwing out. But Soulburner just showed up and left. And these two go on their mission. And they take down Blood Shepherd. They take down Go. They take down Blue Girl. They take down Bowman. They run roughshod through the entire show. And no losses, no hurdles. And we're almost halfway through the show, guys. We're probably 2 months away from being halfway through VRains, which is crazy. Maybe 3 months. I'd say like episode 70, 75, because VRains did start late, so I'm assuming it's probably going to have only like 140 episodes. And with Yu-Gi-Oh! Protagonists, they don't usually lose late in the show, and that's why I felt like this was a perfect time for Playmaker to lose, because the more we get into VRains, the more invincible and plot armor and protagonisty Playmaker is going to become, as if he's not there already. So, again, I would have maybe like to see a different end result, but the episode entirely was good. There's still a lot of questions to be answered, like who is Bowman's leader, what's his motivations, what role are the Knights going to play in the next episode. Still very excited for the next episode, and for the next episode, keep in mind, guys, I will be on vacation, so the next two episodes, 59 and 60, expect me to do an episode review the following Friday, 2 days after the episode airs. I will remind you guys on Twitter about that, but just a little FYI. So that pretty much wraps up my thoughts, but I really do want to hear from all of you about any predictions, things you would have rather seen, or if you think this was, even with the result, a really good episode, and this was the result you wanted to see. Let me know all your thoughts down below. Special thank you to my Platinum tier patrons, Alexa Baker, Christopher Johannes Bouska, Glen McGookin, Jorge Carrillo, D01, James Rose, and Syn Cloud, and to my Diamond tier patrons, Soledsnak and Bouldergeist. A huge thank you from the bottom of my heart to everyone who supports me over on Patreon. Thank you guys at home for watching as well. Would not be here here without all of your amazing support. I will talk to you down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have an amazing day. I'm not